All right, Shalom. First, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. Um, this is an article here. It was published today, May 14th. It says U.S. Immunologist warns of darkest winter if virus rebounds. All right, and I remember, if not a couple weeks ago or a month or so ago, Apostle had done a video and he mentioned that dark winter or something of that sort. So I looked it up and they have something called Operation Dark Winter. Okay, so it's not by coincidence that yesterday I even heard on the news. All right, this is like that's now what they're calling it, a dark winter. But why dark winter? Dark in what sense? You know, dark and physically dark, dark in hopeless dark, or dark in both. You know. So anyway, it says U.S. So I'm gonna read both of these, and off the top, the precept that I kept thinking about, all right, is this one right here. All right, there's one in Matthew and there's also one in Mark. All right, Mark 13:8, and pray that your flight be not in the winter. Okay. For some reason, I always, this precept was always like, why is this, like, what I'm saying, why is this precept here? Pray that your flight be not in the winter. Like, why would the Lord go bother to mention that part? You know, and of course, when you read through this chapter along with Matthew the 24th chapter, it's some of it is referring to the time period of 70 A.D. Some of it is referring to now. But this one precept, verse 18, I always just kept thinking about it. Why? What's the relevance in mentioning and pray that your flight be not in the winter? You know. But nonetheless, I'm gonna read this verse right here, and then we'll go into these articles real quick. So this is Mark, and I'll start at verse 17. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. All right, and that's why, hey man, I mean, at the end of the day, man, it's all the Lord's mercy. The Lord said, "I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy." All right, now, if you're of the elect and your families, the Lord's gonna have mercy on your family and deliver them for you. But for those out there who don't have that covering from the Lord, you're through. All right, woe unto you that are with child. This is gonna be much more difficult for you. You might end up eating your child. You might end up losing your child. Your child might end up being killed in front of you. All right, your child, especially, like it says, them that give suck in those days, pregnant women, women that they just gave birth, you know, you're not in the best condition. Number one, and number two, your child is not gonna be in the best condition to go through a dark winter. Okay, and what are you gonna? It's already hard enough trying to take care of it. Now I'm not a parent, but it's already hard enough trying to take care of a child. When everything is normal. They're waking up, they're crying, you gotta change their diaper, you gotta do all these different things in a normal society. How much more when hell is breaking loose, you can barely get access to things, you can barely take care of yourself. So it says, woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. And pray ye that your flight be not in the winter. Because you see, you got people taking quarantine time. You know what I'm saying? Let me go and impregnate some chicks. You got girls getting pregnant left and right. You know? Guess what? When you come out of quarantine, it's gonna be a whole another obstacle waiting for you outside. But it says, "Pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, because in the winter, man, everything is worse in the winter. All right, even when you watch these different shows and stuff, like especially when they go back to the ancient time, the winter was the most dangerous time of the year. All right, the most dangerous time of the year. They always, winter's coming. And everybody starts to, let's make sure we got our provisions. Let's make sure we got the wall built. Everything is set, because winter brings dangers, you know. Winter, is full of terrors. But anyway, so it says, verse 19, for in those days shall be shall be affliction, such as was not from the beginning. All right, now this is a precept for Daniel, the 12th chapter, the first verse. This is also a precept for Jeremiah, the 30th chapter, the 7th verse. All right, amongst other precepts. But like it says, for in those days shall be affliction. Now let's look up the word affliction. All right, off the top, this is not a pleasurable thing. All right, not for those on the receiving end of it. But if this thing loads, I'll get it. Okay, affliction.
Strong's G 2347. Thlipsis. Thlipsis.
Thlipsis. All right. It says a pressing together, pressure. Metaphor, oppression, affliction, tribulation, distress, straits. Okay. It says pressure literally or figuratively. Pressure from above, pressure from below. Anguish, burdened, persecution, tribulation, trouble. AKA what? Jacob's trouble. Okay. So that's the time that's coming. So this was spoken about in the Old Testament and reiterated in the New Testament. For in those days shall be affliction. Now let me put this on here. Red letter. All right. So the Yahushua said this. He prophesied this. All right. For in those days shall be affliction, such as was not from the beginning of creation, which the Most High created unto this time. So since the first thing that was created, since that time period, on to the time that Yahushua was speaking this prophecy, all right, and it says, neither shall be. Okay, so from that time period of creation to Yahushua's time, on to the end of the affliction, that whole time period from the beginning of creation until now, all right, nothing that has ever happened in between that time span is gonna be compared, all right, to how bad it's gonna get in these days. So bad that, like it says in verse 20, and except that the Lord had shortened those days, no flesh should be saved. Okay, that's why the days are moving fast now, but they're gonna move even faster, all right, when all hell is breaking loose, because there's gonna be so much death around that if it was allowed to go any longer, nobody's gonna make it. Okay, how the Lord's gonna need to intervene in the midst of Jacob's trouble on our behalf for us to make it. So imagine if that was stretched out and prolonged. But like it says, but for the elect's sake, whom he hath chosen, he hath shortened the days. All right, so this thing is gonna move quick. Nonetheless, I'm gonna read this article here. So this is ABC News. It says U.S. Immunologist warns of darkest winter if virus rebounds. Well, as you've already heard, they're already talking about a second wave. Now, they're not just talk. You see, Esau has a way of doing things. All right, predictive programming. Certain words he uses. But when Esau does predictive programming, that's his way of prophecy. Those Esau's prophecies are hidden in his movies and his TV shows. Same way our prophecies are in the books and epistles that were written. And TV shows are just visual epistles in any way. But like it says, like I was saying, when Esau, starts to push for something, he might say, oh, this is a possibility. This might happen. That just means that that's what he's planning to do. So he's putting it out there into your mind that, hey, look, this is what's gonna happen. But I don't want to make it too obvious, so I'm just gonna say it's a possibility that we might have a second wave. And then as you get closer and closer to that time, it goes from a if to a when to a yeah, this is gonna happen. All right. So it says America faces the darkest winter in modern history unless leaders act decisively to prevent a rebound of the coronavirus, says a government whistleblower who alleges he was ousted from his job after warning the Trump administration to prepare for the pandemic. It says immunologist Dr. Rick Bright, wearing a protective mask, testified Thursday before the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Aspects of his complaint about early admission, handling of the crisis were expected to be backed up by testimony from an executive of a company that manufactures respiratory masks. A federal watchdog agency has found reasonable grounds that Bright was removed from his post ahead of the biomedical as head of the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority after sounding the alarm at the Department of Health and Human Services. Bright alleged he became a target of criticism when he urged early efforts to invest in vaccine development and stock up on supplies. And well, here we are. But at the end of the day, everything is all part of the play, man. Okay? These devils, they control both sides. There's the part they push, and then there's something called controlled opposition. Everything is when you watch a movie and you watch a play, the director did not just direct the part of the protagonist. No, he directed the part of the antagonist as well. Okay? The director wrote the part of the good guy, and he also wrote the part of the bad guy. The whole play that you're watching, or the whole movie that you're watching is by a director, comes from a mind who creates both scenes, all right, to make it believable. These devils do that, and so does the Most High, but the Most High does it on the ultimate level, all right. It says, our window of opportunity is closing, Bright said in his preparedness testimony. If we fail to develop a national coordinated response based in science, I fear the pandemic will get far worse and be prolonged, causing unprecedented illness and fatalities. So now, what is this? This is another means of justification. This is another means of saying, well, you heard him. We didn't listen to him before. Look where we at. According to what he's saying, he does have, he does have a point. So we need to, what? Develop a national coordinated response. All right? That means that we need to lock things down and fully prepare for this winter, or else we're going to be in a bad position. And in order for us to lock this down, we might need to step on a few of your rights. Okay? Now, which one do you want? Do you want us to take away some of your rights for your safety? Or you want us to leave you with your rights and you're going to go through this dark winter? All right? It says, I'll read a little bit more. It says, Bright's testimony follows this week's warning by Dr. Anthony Fauci at Demon, the government's top infectious disease expert, that a rushed lifting of store closing and stay-at-home restrictions could turn back the clock, seeding more suffering and death and complicating efforts to get the economy rolling again. Now, guess what? They're going to play the role of, oh, well, we warned you. People didn't listen. We told you, look, don't ease the restrictions just yet. You already got places that are open already. Bars, gyms, regular, they open already, like Texas, all right? Certain other places, okay? Barbershops, all right? They already open already. And guess what? When that winter comes, when this second wave hits, they're going to say, well, look, we tried to warn you, you didn't listen. We gave you the option and you went and chose what you wanted to do. Everybody wants to do their own thing. This governor does this. This governor does that. Well, look where that put us. That's why this whistleblower says what? A national coordinated defense. All right. President Donald Trump on Thursday dismissed Bright in a tweet as a disgruntled employee not likely or respected by people. Oh, Slagia, not liked or respected by people I spoke to, and who, with his attitude, should no longer be working for our government. It's a sentiment some of the president's political allies have expressed about Fauci as well. See, so now they playing the boy who cried wolf scenario. Oh, he first warned you about the outbreak. Nobody listened. Look where we at. He warned you about a dark winter. Nobody listened. Now look where we at. You see? It says more than 84,000 people have died in the United States, representing more than 1/4 of global deaths and the world's highest toll, according to figures compiled by Johns Hopkins University. Now check this out. In this article, Operation Dark Winter, you know who else is in here? Boom, Johns Hopkins Center for Civilian Biodefense Strategies. All right, so you just keep that in mind. It says on the planet, more than 4.3 million have been infected and about 298,000 have died. Okay, let's read here. It says in his preparedness testimony, Bryce said, the undeniable fact is there will be a resurgence of COVID-19 this fall. And you already seen it in China. All right. Now they retesting their whole population because out of what, after a month or two of no cases, boom, Wuhan, all right, the Hubei province, all these places, they're starting to see more cases again. Okay, bad timing, right? First it was okay, the virus came, but we were getting out of winter, so it's okay. But now we're going into winter, and it's coming back. Oh boy, it says greatly compounding the challenges for seasonal influenza and putting an unprecedented strain on our healthcare system. Hey, it's going to be cold, man. It's going to be cold out here. All right? And people, man, look, man, when they start dragging you out your houses, man, people are going to be more willing to comply in the winter because the odds are already against them. You think, what if they shut off your heat? If they call it a dark winter. If they take out the power, yeah, it's going to be a real dark winter. All right? No heat. man. They tell you get tested or we're shutting off the heat in your house. Get the vaccine or we hey. It says without clear planning and implementation of the steps that I and other experts have outlined, 2020 will be the darkest winter in modern history, Bright wrote. Jacob Strubble, man. It says Bright, who has a doctoral degree in immunology, outlined a path forward that would be based on science. Even as researchers work to develop better treatments and an effective vaccine. All right, let's see what the steps include. Establishing a national testing strategy. The White House has urged states to take the lead on testing, even as the federal government pushes to make more tests and better ones widely available. Trump says that the U.S. has prevailed on testing through his strategy, but in Congress, Democrats are demanding a federal framework to encompass the whole nation. Doubling down on educating the public about basic safety measures, such as frequent hand washing and wearing masks in public places as guidelines indicate. And ramping up production of essential equipment and supplies, setting up a system to fairly distribute equipment and supplies. Eliminating state versus state competition would increase efficiency and reduce costs, he wrote. They basically want, instead of state by state stay-at-home order, just declare martial law on a nationwide level, all right, and have everybody do the same thing at the same time under the same orders. All right, let me see if they have any new any good parts in here. I don't want to read the whole thing. It says BARDA, the agency Bright worked at for 10 years, was created to help the government respond to bioterrorism, infectious diseases, and radiological attacks. It focuses on developing and procuring countermeasures such as vaccines and treatments. Prior to his reassignment, Bright had received an outstanding performance review. Okay. It says, after the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, America was told that restrictive governmental silos had been torn down so that different federal agencies could work together for national security, Bowen added. But I didn't see evidence of that. Interesting. Now, moving on to this. This is, you look up Operation Dark Winter. All right. I'm just going to read the intro and the scenario here. Okay. So it says Operation Dark Winter was the code name for a senior level bioterrorist attack simulation conducted from June 22nd to 23rd of 2001. Now, the question you should ask is why are you having a simulation for a bioterrorist attack? All right. You run simulations on things that you think are likely to happen so that you can be better prepared for them. So did they think that a bioterrorist attack, a senior level bioterrorist attack, was a likely thing? And is that why they're trying to pin the blame on China to make it look like a bioterrorist attack? Well, it says it was designed to carry out a mock version of a covert and widespread smallpox attack on the United States. Well, we're dealing with a coronavirus, a respiratory virus attack, not a smallpox thing. But it'd be too obvious if they were to put something relatively close, all right, to the coronavirus. So instead, we use something like smallpox. It says Tara O'Toole, whatever. It says, and Thomas Inglesby of the Johns Hopkins Center. Oh, Johns Hopkins. There goes Johns Hopkins. Johns Hopkins Center for Civilian Biodefense Strategies, Center for Strategic and International Studies, and Randy Larson and Mark. Yeah, not just gonna say their names. It says Analytic Services were the principal designers, authors, and controllers of the Dark Winter Project. Now let's read a little bit about the Dark Winter Project. Let's read about the objective and the scenario, right? It says Dark Winter was focused on evaluating the inadequacies of a national emergency response during the use of a biological weapon against the American populace. The exercise was solely intended to establish preventive measures and response strategies by increasing governmental and public awareness of the magnitude and potential of such a threat posed by biological weapons. So the scenario for this is that Darkest Winter's simulated scenario involved an initial localized smallpox attack on Oklahoma City. Oklahoma, with additional smallpox attack cases in Georgia and Pennsylvania. The simulation was then designed to spiral out of control. This would create a contingency in which the National Security Council struggles to determine both the origin of the attack as well as deal with containing the spreading virus. Well, they're having trouble doing that now, apparently. Okay, you could say they barely managed to deal with this one. So what they're gonna do when the second wave comes is as by not being able to keep pace with the disease's rate of spread, a new catastrophic contingency emerges in which see, but they're telling you that this scenario, right? If you're not able to keep pace with the disease's rate of spread, it says what? A new catastrophic contingency emerges in which massive civilian casualties would overwhelm America's emergency response capabilities. This means that based on the simulation, what we learned is we need to be able to keep pace with the disease's rate of spread. How do we do that? Testing people. All right. So what we learned from this scenario and from phase one or wave one of this virus is that we got to be able to track or pace the disease's rate of spread. How do we do that? By testing people. So one of the measures is that testing has to be made mandatory. All right. Like I said before, man, the more severe the trouble ahead is, apparently, according to them, the more severe the measures they're gonna take are. So it goes from recommended to mandatory. It says the disastrous contingencies that would result in the massive loss of civilian life were used to exploit the weaknesses of the U.S. healthcare infrastructure and its inability to handle such a threat. So right now you have the healthcare system and all this that have been so-called, right, drained. You know, they've been hit the hardest. These healthcare workers are going through it. People have lost their jobs, and this is only wave one, and wave two is supposed to be worse. So it's basically like attacking an enemy when he's already, at his weak point. All right, that's basically the scenario that's being set up, all right, for America and other parts of the world. Okay. So it says the contingencies were also meant to address the widespread panic that would emerge and which would result in mass social breakdown and mob violence. That's 2 Ezra, the 15th chapter. Okay? Sedition among men, the course of their actions standing in their power. Why? Because of a panic. Food is scarce, it's cold as shit, and there's a virus outbreak which it spiraled out of control, and they don't have a grasp on it. So now their only hope is a vaccine. You see how these devils like to play it? It says exploits would also include the many difficulties that the media would face when providing American citizens with the necessary information regarding safety procedures. Because the media is now, people are now waking up to their lies, okay, and their propaganda, that it's going to be hard to control people. Okay, and since I mentioned 2 Esdras, I'll close on that. 2 Esdras 15. Just getting to the point. 2 Esdras 15. You know what? I'll jump. All right. Second Esdras chapter 15 verse 11. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues. When you read Revelation the 11th chapter, or around the 8th verse down, it talks about this place being spiritually Sodom and Egypt. So this isn't talking about ancient Egypt, because remember it says, look, I will smite Egypt with plagues as before. So this means that this is a modern Egypt, but it's not talking about the actual physical land of Egypt. It's referring to America. Okay, because another name for America in the Bible, all right, is metaphorically called Egypt, Sodom and Gomorrah, Nineveh, Assyria, okay, Babylon. It says, as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. See, the whole land of Egypt wasn't destroyed, but the whole land of America will be. It says, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundations, but notice it's at plagues, right? Egypt shall mourn, and the foundations of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. And he's going to bring plagues in many forms, many ways. All right, diseases, okay, and much more. Now, jumping down, verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men. When you look up the word sedition, it goes into uprisings, all right, revolutions, people not listening to the government, leading to anarchy. And invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes. That means they're those in authority, they will not listen to what you're saying. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Like it says here, all right, it says, this would result in mass social breakdown and mob violence. Okay, because people are going to do what they want. The course of their actions shall stand in their power. What they do is going to be up to them. All right. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. These will be lockdown measures, all right, put in place to try and quote unquote make things better. But that's not going to do anything. Okay. That's not really going to do anything. And I'll just read to verse 19. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. You damn right they'll be afraid. All right. Because this is a scary thing. A man shall have no pity on his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. A sword is a weapon. A modern day weapon is a gun or a bat or, AK-47, AR, whatever. And spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. All right, so this is what's coming to this place. All right, and now here it is. You got this guy warning about a dark winter, and here it is. They got an operation called Operation Dark Winter. So they know exactly what they're doing. All right. And they're playing their cards, well, according to them, they're playing it right. Okay. But, ultimately, they're playing it right into the hands of prophecy, which is what we're looking for. So, you know what? It is what it is. All right. So, I'm going to end it off here. Lord's willing, this is edifying unto the elect, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak, Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.